We're introduced to RMC Takemichi Yoshito, a low-tier challenger whose body was in a very terrible condition. As he struggles desperately to escape, he falls down and began to cry for someone to help him. An elite demon monster began to approach him. It smiles while watching him fall into despair. Yoshito picked up his sword as he said, being tormented, looked down at, "Is it fun? Are you satisfied now?" He raised his sword as he tells the demon he won't give up even if the entire world abandons him, and he immediately began his counterattack against the demon, but with one hit alone he was knocked down by the demon. As he was down, the demon began to gather his powers and blasted Yoshito with it. But Yoshito was fast enough to dodge it, but the impact of the blast affected the floor. The floor then collapsed. As Yoshito falls, he promised himself to become a strong challenger. As he falls down, he then died. In this world there are magic towers. Structures which are beyond human understanding. They are tower-like dungeons which suddenly appeared all over the world. The interior is like a world straight out of a video game with sword, magic and skills, as well as monsters. The magic stones and treasure from the tower are sold at high prices. Those who sought those treasures are called challengers. However, challenging the tower came with a risk to life. Even though it's like a game, death in the tower means death in reality. Yoshito opens his eyes slowly as he said to himself, "I died again, this isn't how things should go." His system then tells him his death has been confirmed and his skill Infinite Revival has been activated. His skill Infinite Revival, no matter how many times he dies, the skill can bring him back to life. It sounds great, but after graduating from high school he lived a life of just working part-time jobs, but then the magic towers appeared. He thought his life would change if he became a challenger. So every day in order to seize magic stones and treasures, and he also tried to acquire a rare skill that no one had from a skill stone. He got his Infinite Revival from a merchant at the entrance of the magic tower. He withdrew all his savings and even went into debt to purchase the Infinite Revival skill stone. But after he got the skill, he realized that with each death his abilities are reduced as a death penalty. He has died 4 times so far. The first time his defense was reduced by 50 even though the original stat value was 53. Thanks to that, a single blow from the demon brought him to the brink death. The second time his attack was reduced by 70. The third time his defense by 250. This time his agility by 60. He then thought to himself, if he keeps getting debuffed, he'll eventually become unable to move, and at that moment he won't be able to continue as a challenger. He was burdened with debt and also stuck with a worthless skill. As he revived, he could feel his body has become heavy due to the debuff he received. As he looks around, he noticed that he had fallen to the lower floor, but due to the surroundings he has never heard of such a place in the lower levels. As he looks in the distance, he noticed a glowing object. It was a skill stone which was golden, which meant it was an ultra-rare one. He knew that the stone can be sold at a high price. With the stone he might just be able to repay his debt. At that moment he was determined to bring back the skill stone no matter what. As there were no monsters around, he thought it would be an easy win. But after a single step he activated a trap, and a bunch of daggers came flying out of the wall and he died immediately. As he revived, his strength was reduced by 65. It was at this moment he realized he died in an instant from a single trap. But that wasn't enough to stop him from getting the stone. As he continues to move, he activated another trap. This time he was burnt to death. His health was reduced by 250. As he revived, he avoided the fire and then realized the passage was designed to lure challengers and then kill them effectively with traps. But unfortunately he has plenty of lives to spare. He runs down the pathway. With each trap activating, with each death, he get a debuff. He loses the sensation in his body, forgetting how many times he had died. His consciousness began to fade away slowly. But finally it was his win. As he held the skill stone, he fainted from exhaustion. The system then automatically used the skill stone, and he acquired the unique skill inversion. As he woke up, he felt stronger, his consciousness was clear, and he couldn't feel the effects of the death penalty. He then decided to check his status. It was then he realized, all the negative debuffs he's been receiving has turned to positive. And he also acquired inversion, which reverses all effects, including buffs, debuffs and status abnormalities. Thanks to this skill, all the debuffs he received from dying would be reversed to positive effects. He then thought, when did he acquire such a skill? He then saw that the rare skill stone has been automatically used. He couldn't sell it anymore. But he knew this was a good thing, since anytime he dies he'll only get stronger. He knew that with his new powers he'll definitely become one of the strongest challengers and acquire fortune and fame. As he looks back, he realized he'll have to go through the traps again to return home. Every single trap has returned to its pre-activated state, and once he gets close it'll be activated. The thought of him dying again and again was traumatic because of the pain after every death. He knew he might just go insane. Even with that, he steeled his heart cause his stats are now doubled due to the inversion skill. And he might be able to break through the traps with that. He stood ready as he had no choice but to give it a try. As he began, he was then ever, the first trap activated, launching a bunch of spears towards him. As the spears were about to hit him, he dodged every single one with absolute finesse. As he lands, he realized he was no longer weak, he could see everything. He decided to go even faster. He zoomed through the second trap, and he dodged the third one like it was nothing. As he launched himself towards the next one, the trap which burned him activated, but this time he was ready. He brought out a sword from his inventory and smashed the trap. Another one activated immediately, and a bunch of daggers was about to hit him. He deflected every single one with his sword. At this moment he was convinced that with his first skill infinite revival and the second one inversion, with the combination of the two he can definitely become the strongest challenger. He looks up at the hole he fell from as he said, if it were the old me, going back up would have been impossible. He stood ready, and then in a flash he launched himself up into the hole. He bounced off the walls, and in no time he was already in the upper floor where the elite demon was. He tells the demon, sorry for making you wait. The demon attacks him, but this time he was able to guard himself. The demon knew he was different from the last time. Yoshido taunts the demon as he tells him to try killing him again. The demon was enraged. Yoshido charges at the demon. The demon attacks him, but he dodged it and sliced off the demon's hands. As he tells the demon his attacks don't scare him anymore, he gives the demon a powerful kick to the face which launched it into the walls. Yoshido thought it was his victory, but the demon began to charge a powerful attack. Yoshido, knowing this was bad, ran away. Boom! The demon fires a powerful blast. The demon noticed he didn't hit Yoshido with the blast. Yoshido, who just avoided the blast, then said the more he realized the demon was not a third-floor monster. The higher you go in a tower, the stronger the monsters become, and only weak monsters should appear on the third floor. The demon sprouted out wings from his back and launched Yoshido into the air. They continued their battle into the air, but then the demon then hits Yoshido back to the ground. Yoshido, knowing something was wrong with the monster, then asked, what the hell are you? The demon just looks at him, giving off a very deadly aura. Yoshido, who wasn't expecting an answer, then decided it was time to end everything once and for all. The demon began to charge his blast with both hands this time. But Yoshido wasn't expecting the demon to compress the blasts into a sword. At this moment Yoshido knew the demon was about to go all out. The demon roars, and with a single swing of its sword a bunch of dark lightning were launched at Yoshido. As Yoshido was avoiding the lightning, the demon appeared behind him and attacked, but Yoshido was able to guard himself. As he was defending himself, he noticed something. It was another little blast from the demon. At this point he knew he messed up. The demon burst his head with the blast. As he died due to the inversion skill, his strength was increased by 40. The demon was about to walk away thinking he has won, but Yoshido appeared behind him like the real demon. The demon was able to defend himself this time, but the demon's face was filled with fear, seeing a person he killed come back to life. With each attack from Yoshido, the demon was getting afraid. Yoshido, who was angry after dying once, realized he's able to push the demon back with his strength, but it's still not enough to kill it yet. The demon, who had become desperate, lets out a loud shriek. The demon energy went out of control and a loud explosion killed Yoshido again. Thanks to his skill, Yoshido agility got buffed by 60. As Yoshido revived, he knew that with this he would finally be able to defeat the demon. Yoshido tells the demon, "You've fought well." He then charged at it. The demon was ready to attack, but it was too late. The battle had ended. He tells the demon it had no chance in winning with a limited life. He walked up to the demon and told it, when the time comes, if they ever meet each other, they'll have a fair fight. Yoshido lets out a sigh of relief as he sat down. He then thought he has been killed twice even though he's gotten stronger. He then looks at his sword, which crumbles immediately. He then said he needed a sturdier sword. He then decided to gather some magic stones so he can afford a new sword. Magic Tower. Hermes, safe area. At the entrance of each floor of any magic tower, there is a section where monsters do not appear. That section is called the safe area, which is where adventurers can rest. And while exploring the magic tower, you may obtain equipments and items. There are stalls in the safe area where you can buy and sell them. Yoshito, who was at the safe area, holds a new silver sword he just bought as he said this one won't break easily. He then thought about the price of the sword, which was really high, but he shakes off his doubts as he knew he would only rise up from here and the sword is just an initial investment. He then noticed the way people were looking at him. He could hear them talking about how he was fooled into buying the infinite revival skill. It was then he realized he was just a pitiful challenger to them, but he was just pissed. No one told him before he got fooled. He knew infinite revival might be a trash skill, but with the combination of inversion, it becomes a god-tier skill. As he immersed himself in his thoughts, a loud shout brings him back to reality. As he looks over to see what was happening, a guy then said he'd be the one to challenge the mid-boss room on the 5th floor, as he calls himself the Dominator Nagasha-sama. Yoshito just gives a stressed look. Dominator. A Dominator is a title given to those who challenge the boss room at the top of the magic tower. The tower disappears when the boss of the top floor is defeated. Those who defeat the boss can obtain powerful unique equipments. Dominators are highly respected, but Nagashi, not so much. At that point Yoshito noticed the person Nagashi was arguing with were his friends, Mana and Yuri. Mana then said Nagashi is just someone who happened to challenge a low-tier magic tower, and anyone can do the same. Yuri then tries to stop Mana from fighting, but Mana then said, "We found the mid-boss room first. Is it really okay to let that fake dominator to snatch our rewards?" Yuri then said the rewards for clearing the mid-boss room is tempting, but the dangers are numerous. Leaving it to Nagashi might be better. After hearing Yuri's words, Mana was speechless. Nagashi then said, "It looks like the conversation settled. You girls should just keep quiet and watch my unique equipment bestowed upon me. With this, Aegis Mimesis, I can block any attack." As Nagashi and his party were laughing at them, Yoshito then came to meet Mana and Yuri. As he got there, Nagashi looks at him and then said, "It's none other than Takemichi." Nagashi then tries to intimidate him as he said, "I heard you got duped by that merchant into buying some shitty skill. How pathetic to be the one being exploited." Yoshito then sighs as he leans over and tells Mana and Yuri to give the mid-boss to Nagashi and the others. Mana was shocked to hear this from Yoshito, but he told her to calm down since 3 of them will challenge the boss room at the top, with speed that even Nagashi and the others won't be able to keep up. Yuri, surprised by Yoshito's words, then asked, "What are you saying?" Yoshito tells them he has a proper plan to win. Nagashi, who was pissed off by Yoshito's words, activated his unique equipment and charged at Yoshito. Yoshito was able to dodge Nagashi attacks smoothly. He then tripped Nagashi over. As Nagashi fell down, he couldn't believe what just happened. Yoshito, who was behind him, then tells him to stop rolling around. Mana and Yuri, who saw what happened, were shocked. Yoshito then said, "Since everyone is here, let's go." As they all got to the 4th floor, Mana then calls Yoshito as she asked him if it was safe to follow Nagashi, since he's not that strong. Yuri also said she was worried since monsters up till that moment were all strong. Yoshito tells them they'll be fine. He then began to think to himself, "Mana is level 15 and Yuri is level 13, and compared to them I'm level 8, it's natural to be concerned, but the current me, regardless of my level, my status has increased exponentially. If we get into a fight I'll be able to put them all to dust." Nagashi then stopped and told them it's fine to observe they defeat the mid-boss, but they'll be on their own against the small fries. Yoshito was just surprised Nagashi pulled himself together real quick. The ground began rumbling. A blue lizardman monster then attacked Nagashi from the air, but Nagashi was able to block the attack and launch it backwards. The lizardman stood ready and then lets out a loud scream. Nagashi thought it was only one lizardman and it would be easy, but Yoshito was the first to notice they were totally surrounded by the lizards. The lizards began dropping from the roof and in no time they were completely surrounded. In the midst of the blue lizardmen, a red lizard commander appeared. The commander then launched the attack. As the lizardmen approached, Yoshito was ready to kill them all, but Mana and Yuri, who thought he was weak, covered him to protect him. Yoshito tries to tell them he can fight too, but Mana tells him not to act tough in their situation. He was completely disappointed. She then tells him the opponents are out of his league. Yuri also called him as she told him to please fall back since it was dangerous. As they were all fighting the lizardmen, Yoshito was in despair as he said, "I'll also fight." It was at this moment he realized everyone thinks he's just a liability. Nagashi, who was fighting the lizard commander, was sent flying by it. As he landed he slid and activated a trap. Yoshito was the only one who noticed, but instead of Nagashi he was the one that fell into the pit. As he falls he thought to himself, "Why am I the one falling and not Nagashi?" As he falls down due to his countless experiences, this kind of trap doesn't faze him. He bounced off the walls, and he got down the pit without a single injury. As he looks around, he is surrounded by a lot of lizardmen commanders. There was nowhere to run. Yoshito was not scared, instead he brought out his sword as he thought it was a great time to test it. The lizardmen instinctively knew he was dangerous. Yoshito then bursts right through them as he tells them they'll soon realize what they've done by bringing him to this place. As one of the lizard monsters jumped to attack him, he stood ready, and parried the attack. In only a single slash he killed the monster. This time 2 lizardmen jumped into attack, but he was able to dodge the attack smoothly, and as he landed behind them he cuts the both of them head swiftly. After seeing this, the lizardmen were hesitant to attack, then Yoshito taunts them, telling them to come try and kill him. As the lizardmen and Yoshito both charged at each other, Yoshito was killing the lizardmen one hit at a time. He killed every single one that came across his path. The lizardmen began inching away as they were afraid of the monster they were facing. After a while Yoshito finally killed the last one. After he was finally done killing every lizardman, he then noticed there was a staircase beside the walls. He then began to climb the staircase, and after a while he approached a door which led to the floor which Mana and Yuri were. Yuri rushed over to check if he was okay. After checking his body for a while, she was very relieved to find out that he was okay. Mana then tells him they've been looking for a path to come save him. She then asked if he got attacked by any monster. Yoshito denied and said, "Nope, he didn't experience any issue at all, even though you slayed a bunch of lizardmen." He asked what about Nagashi and the others. Mana then said after he fell into the hole they managed to defeat all the lizardmen, but Nagashi assumed he was dead and rushed to the boss room, even though he activated the trap. Yoshito then tells them not to be worried about it since Nagashi has always been like that. He then thanks the both of them for worrying about him. He then said if they hurry up they might be able to catch up to Nagashi and the others. At that moment he noticed a red lizardman behind Mana and Yuri. The lizardman jumped and went straight for Yuri, who had no idea what was about to happen. And only in the blink of an eye Yoshito was able to move at an incredible speed and block the attack. Mana brought out her daggers as she finished off the monster, as she thought of how dangerous it was. Yuri then thanks Yoshito for saving her life. He replied nonchalantly, "Good thing I made it in time." Mana then asked how he was able to react to such an attack quickly. He then said, "Maybe I might be of use, I am no longer dead weight." As they were on the 5th floor, Yoshito then brought out his status screen and began to check his status. He noticed that his levels has risen by 2. He also noticed his stat were increased, but it was only by a few points. The increase from inversion were much more. This made him realize just how overpowered inversion was. At that point Yuri then tells him they've reached the room of the 5th floor boss. Mana tells him that it hasn't been long since the conquest on the tower began. She and Yuri were the first one to find the room, but when they went to the 1st floor to prepare to fight, that was when Nagashi caught them, which pissed her off. Then Yuri tries to calm Mana down. Yoshito opens the door as he tells them a mid-boss is something that's need to be taken seriously. As he takes his first step into the room, one of Nagashi teammates was sent flying, and then bang, right into the wall. As he looks over he sees Nagashi, who tells him to look at the mid-boss protecting the room. The mid-boss, which was an orc lord, the orc lord jumped up with his giant axe to attack Nagashi, but Nagashi stood ready and blocked the attack with his unique shield equipment. He uses the ability of the shield to push the orc lord back as he tells it in a 1-on-1 situation he has no intention of losing. Then tell Yoshito not to look away as he will show him the difference between him and a small fry like Yoshito. The orc lord lets out a fierce attack against Nagashi, but Nagashi was able to defend himself right yet again without even budging. The orc lord was furious this time. He attacked more powerful than last time. Then he lets out a series of more attacks, but to the orc lord's surprise yet again Nagashi was left unscathed. Nagashi looks at the mid-boss and said, "Is this all you got? This is going to be an automatic win for me." Yoshito was analyzing the fight from a distance, knew that this is all thanks to the power of the unique equipment which Nagashi was using. Nagashi's stats wouldn't even be that impressive. The orc lord lets out a fierce attack again, but this time Nagashi was able to counter-attack, sending him flying back. Then the two teammates of Nagashi rushed over and then cut the sides of the orc lord. The all-orc lord, who was in pain, then lowered his head. Through that chance Nagashi jumped up and hits the monster right in his head with the shield. Your monster fell down immediately. It was their win. Nagashi then looks at Yoshito and tells him, "You see that? That is the power of a true challenger." Yoshito just rubs off his head. Nagashi was feeling really proud of himself and continued to call them small fries. Then one of his teammates then tells him that he should look behind him. To Nagashi's surprise, it was a shining treasure box. Immediately he rushed over to try and open the box, knowing that it might be a superior item. As he was about to open it, a feeling of dread suddenly overcame Yoshito. He then began to think about the traps which caught him the last time when he tried to get the super rare skill, inversion. He tries to stop Nagashi from opening the chest, but it was too late. After Nagashi opened the chest, it was completely empty. Then suddenly a bright magical light surrounded the entire room, and after a very bright flash they found that they're no longer in the mid-boss room. At that moment Nagashi then knew that this pressure was something he has felt before. The last time it was at the top floor of the tower he got his unique equipment from. At that moment they all realized that they were no longer in the mid-boss floor but the top floor of the Hermes Tower. A dark magical circle appeared and suddenly the boss monster appeared.